And we are live.
We're live.
Hopefully in 1080. Yeah, 1080. We upgraded our plan. So hopefully you guys will see us a little clearer now.
If you can tell a difference or not.
Yeah, who knows, man? My main goal is that you can hopefully clearly see the trophy even better. The Far Wide Angler of the Year trophy for the Hobie Bass Open Series. Now that we're in 1080, that's what I want everyone to be able to really see.
I need to move my my trophies. They're directly behind me, so I might need to reposition those so people can see those from years past. I actually have done successful things before.
Yeah, you have, my friend. Probably don't get as much credit on the show as you deserve, but
just enough.
You are
just the right amount.
Just the right amount. You almost don't want too much. Trust me, man. It comes with a lot of other headaches too, but it's a good thing. I'd rather have it than not. So we got lots of people tuned in now. 14 people already, and guys, we actually you'll notice the new graphic. Anybody like the new graphic on the screen?
Yeah, let us know with the graphic if you like these or not. I'm by no means a graphic artist, but I did make them. So, you can be as harsh as you want, but just realize that it was not a professional who made those. So
that's right. If you're listening to this on iTunes or whatever podcast afterwards, audio only, sorry, but trust me, the graphics are great. He's got a nice little thing. It says "Going Live in the Current," a little crescent logo there. It says "Hooked on Wild Waters." It's pretty cool. And then who knows? Ken may have a few more tricks up his sleeve as we get going here. But we don't have, what we need, Candace, we need our intro music back. We need it.
We do.
I miss it.
I always do the fake drumming. It kind of gets us ramped up for the show, gets our mind right and what we're going to talk about. And it just hasn't been there in the last 3 episodes.
See, before we were streaming this, how do we even know you were doing the drumming? You were just doing it by yourself. It's like singing in the shower by yourself. You're just rocking out, and you were just doing it. But I got something for us here. This is going to be ghetto, but just so we can have our intro music.
I'm Drew Gregory, and this is Hooked on Wild Waters.
All right. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I'm holding up the mic.
It's going through for me, so they might be able to.
All right, well, there's our intro music. We'll get that going, but
that's the next project
already. So, I'm not complaining here. Look at this. You got us looking like a professional podcast. So, guys, we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff here today. Should we give them like a little rundown? Let's actually tell them what the main topic is. So the people that are like, hey, when are they going to get to something meaty, something I can really hold on to?
The juice. What's the juice today?
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Okay. You want to share? Go ahead.
Yeah. So our main topic, our big thing that we're going to do today, and we've talked about it a little bit before in like a couple seasons ago podcast, but in the audio version. But with this new system that we have set up, we're really going to be able to get into a lot more detail and some actual show you what we're doing. And we're going to talk about scouting for a body of water that you necessarily can't have access to every weekend or anything like that. So like map study, how, like what to look for, like how to prep some stuff, and just basic overall scouting of an area that you can't exactly access day to day because it's 5, 6, 12, 15 hours away from you.
Right. So exactly. So pulling up another website here real quick. I just thought about. So that's a good topic. I think people this time of year, it's still cold. People are still doing a lot of prep work, a lot of maps, a lot of scouting. So I think it's a good topic, man. I think people are going to love it.
I think it'll be good.
Yeah. Before we get into that, we got a few industry news sort of things to touch on, give our opinions on. And you guys in the comments can actually pull up the comments.
Yeah, we got a
here. Let's see. We got Jake, we got Ryan, Dave. Wow, watching from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. That's impressive. What's up, Dave? I'm sure he's
stay warm.
Yeah, stay warm for sure.
You probably know how, but always stay warm.
Yeah, but it's probably colder. Well, it probably was colder in Texas than it was up there he is in Oklahoma recently. My Lord, they got a cold snap. So one thing we want to touch on real quick is
fantasy.
Let's get to it. Yeah, the fantasy. We started the fantasy game. So if you're not in this, boo. It's too late. Sorry, we've talked about it enough. You missed out. But it's going to be pretty fun. I got 2 teams going. We did allow 2 teams this year, so I got essentially 12 different anglers, so 6 on each team, and it's kicking off. And I'm excited, man. I can't wait to, it gives me a rooting interest for these tournaments. And this weekend, for example, the Hobie Bass Open Series is going on. So might as well just mention that real quick.
Yep.
One of my guys, Nick Matthews, a young guy that I've seen like doing really well in tournaments, but never winning or getting like a real, in these national stage stuff, not like a top, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen him get like a top 3 or top 5. He's close. He's but like at the national championship, he was in the teens or something, I think. And he's
in the hunt.
He's in the hunt. And when you're competing against that many people for 3 days, so he was a sort of a sleeper. And I was on Scott Butcher's show the other day, just popped in to talk about fantasy and preview it. And he asked me for a sleeper, and I said Nick Matthews. He was only $6,000 in the game, or $6,500. I was like, Nick Matthews. So that's pretty cool that my sleeper call is panning out. I don't know what he's at now. He was in the lead at 88 inches yesterday. Let's look it up real quick. He was, right now we're recording this at 12:47. You got it pulled up?
Yep. Event total leading right now is Mr. Minor from Virginia with 149.25 inches. Kurt Smits from here in Ohio is in second, and Ryan Lambert has bumped himself up to third right now. And your boy is sitting in sixth, Nick Matthews.
Sixth, with just 2 fish. So
yep.
If he just needs 3 more. But either way, he's cashing a check, which is good for someone that only spent $6,500 on the game. So
they're cashing top 10, I believe, this weekend.
Yeah, so. Top 10. I think you pretty much almost get nearly $1,000, right? So it's good payout for those guys. And hey, they braved the weather. They deserve it. It's not easy. You saw a lot of good anglers not catch a fish yesterday, or definitely not get a limit. Only a few people got a limit out of everyone. How many people? It was like 10 people got a limit?
I think 10 people got a limit 94? And 49 people caught a fish or something like that.
Yeah, it's tough. I kind of bailed out of this one, because the beauty of our sport, there's 3 major trails. You can sort of cherry pick your way around a season. You don't have to fish every event. This isn't like the Elite Series or MLF where we're locked in, right? So pretty cool that we can cherry pick. And I just said, you know what? I know already it's February. It's going to be freezing cold. And it's, there's just other tournaments in different times of the year, different bodies of water that I thought it'd be a little bit more fun to fish, because I only can get so much time away, from the fam. So that's kind of why I'm bailing on this one, but congrats to all those guys who are catching fish. This is not easy out there in that cold weather. So good job.
You. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't start fishing in Ohio till like April sometimes, just because I don't want to go out in the cold. And you guys are, out in late February and some unusually lower temperatures further south like that. Bravo to you. I don't know if I had the mental toughness to do that.
Seriously. So I'm saying this to the anglers, but here's what else I'm saying this for. Hobie BOS did something good. Something really good, which they do all the time. But this is a good thing for this tournament. It was cold, and they decided, let's move the start time on day 1 from 7 to 9, and then let's let them fish instead of 7 to 3, 9 to 5. That's pretty cool because, it opens up a little mini topic here. The bite gets better in the winter and the spring, obviously later in the day. So I don't know why we don't start every tournament January, February, and March at like 8 or 8:30. Let us fish till 4, 4:30, even 5. If you wanted to do it 9 to 5. Thoughts on that, Ken?
It makes sense to me. I know it doesn't line up with the regimen of like a normal tournament time. The consistency of we always start at 7, we always end at this, and that's just the pattern. And that makes things easy in running it sort of standpoint, because you always know what to expect every tournament you get into. But for the purity of fishing and having good numbers and catching fish and being comfortable and ultimately being safe a lot of times with, the temperatures doing a drastic rise from an overnight. And like you said, the bite turning on, I don't think it's necessarily a terrible idea if it's something that we can easily implement and schedule and just make anglers aware, hey, these first 3 events start later than they will. We adjust according to season. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has any opposing ideas. If you have something that is a major flaw with that, throw it up in the comments. Or if you're liking what we're talking about and something to maybe consider in the future, it's not a bad idea.
It's a great idea. I love it. I love the idea on multiple platforms or reasons, whatever the word is.
You get to
I
sleep
like
in.
it for-
You get to have breakfast.
There you go. Yeah. JBN was joking around with Lambert saying that's about a normal start time for him anyway. So it's perfect for him. But so I like it for a few reasons. Usually you can get on the water 30 minutes before the first cast. If you're doing that in freezing cold temperatures and it's dark, that's dangerous. Water temperature and air temperature being that cold, that's dangerous. You at least want some light up. So if someone has an accident in the dark this time of the year, man, that could be, potentially fatal. So I like it for that. Let's let some light get on the scene. Let's let the water warm up a little bit. And then, of course, being able to fish in the better period of the day this time of year is another good reason, because here's what people want to see in our sport in all the bass fishing tournaments. The real star of the show isn't even the anglers. It is the bass. I mean, certainly the anglers are a big part of it, but really people come to see. That's why a bass brings the fish to the weigh-ins and hold them up. People want to see big fish. So the more fish that are caught and the bigger fish caught, that only benefits the tournament trail, the anglers, and our sport, period. So the odds of catching more and bigger fish are going to increase if you make the start time 8 or 8:30 or 9. You know what I mean? So I think it's a good idea for all those reasons. And then there's also a reason, another one, you can kind of take a look at what MLF has done. So MLF, obviously, like no matter where you fall on the whole, you love, you hate them, whatever, they did some things that shook up the industry. And one of the things I've noticed they do is they have completely different start times and end times for the tournaments. And it basically kind of like we've talked about, it reflects, because I remember watching MLF at like 6 p.m. one time or later, like they were doing, maybe it was this time of year. They'll do these random times. And it's always just to be able to have the anglers fishing on the water when statistically their odds are greater for catching more fish and bigger fish, because it's boring if they don't have guys to cut to catching fish, right? Yeah. They need the action. They need the fish, and we do too. So thank you, Ryan. You said I nailed it. Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate. Hey, Doug King, what's up from Greenwood, South Carolina? Used to live in Greenwood. Yeah, man. I'm going to be back there in that area, actually fishing the Lake Murray event. So pretty close to Greenwood for KBF. So I'm excited next weekend, by the way. So stay tuned. Hoping to earn some fantasy points for all those that have me on their team. Yeah. Hey, which by the way, we should show that. Talking about fantasy, circling back around. I've got it. You want to talk about it here real quick? I've got it. I can pull it up.
Yeah, sure.
If you know what I'm talking about. I've got something cool for you guys to see.
Bring it up.
Let me share this.
Let's go live.
Yeah. Go live in the current. Brought to you by Crescent Kayaks. All right, here we go. As I'm filibustering as this opens, if it will open.
Doug
it's open somewhere on my screen. I just don't know where it is.
Doug says he'll be on Murray on Saturday. So.
No way. All right, cool. Let us know how it goes, man. So let me try to share my screen. Or can I just we're still trying to work through this software. Could I also just put in a graphic somehow? Is it that easy? Let's see. Here we go. Share.
You can send it to me. I don't know.
Well, I'm saying without sharing the screen, I think you can hit share. I got a lot going on my computer. I don't know if my internet's going to handle this. Here we go. You can share a video file.
Yeah.
You guys still got me clear? You have me clear? Or am I?
You're starting to lag a little bit.
I'm lagging. Okay. Let me share screen. And here we go. I'm going to share application window. There we go. Fantasy Kayak. All right. There it is. You guys got that?
It's there.
All right, cool. So what that is, and I'll try to zoom in here, that is the ownership percentage breakdown now that we have locked the game. So hopefully you guys can see this. It's the ownership percentage breakdown. How do I get this bigger?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, here we go. You guys see that there? That's a little bit better, right?
A bit better, yeah.
A bit better. All right, ownership percentage breakdown. As you see here at the bottom, this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. And right now, Russ Snyder. Now, again, guys, this is like not to be taken if you're in this game or you're a fan of the game, you're playing it, whatever. This isn't like a popularity contest. This isn't who's better, who's worse, who people like or not like. This is probably who people saw as some of the better values in the game. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody might be incredible. Like, look at Guillermo's incredible, but people at the price that we had him, people thought, maybe not the best value. So he's still in the top, whatever this is, 20 or 25 anglers that even record enough to be mentioned in this graphic. So he's still very highly owned, but you get my point here. This is a lot of times has to do with whoever people thought was the best value. So Russ Snyder, so he's around 40, looks like 40, probably 3% owned. And so if you got Russ and he does good, then you went with chalk and you kind of, held your own there with going with chalk, like you had to do. But if he doesn't do well this year as well as he did last year, which is, let's face it, it's like death, taxes, and Russ Snyder's. So probably going to be okay. But if he doesn't do as well, then that's 40% of the folks out there playing the game that are at a humongous disadvantage. I'm looks like I'm second here, pretty much tied with Christine Fisher. I look like we're dead on the money tied.
Yeah, you guys are real close on that graphic.
And we're probably look like 28% owned. So, I mean, hey, she fishes a ton of events. We might have had her undervalued a little bit. I know she's going to be highly owned because she's certainly one of the more popular anglers in kayak fishing, one of the better anglers in kayak fishing, and one of the best spokesperson for our sport. So,
and a lot of that had to do with what they fished last year and what we were able to take into account. Because remember, we had the whole KBF side of things got a little sideways. So, there could have been some misinformation dropped in a lot of that evaluation. So it's only going to get better from what we're doing.
That's right. Year. That's right. There's no pro circuit with KBF that's going to be canceled this year and changed and mess this whole thing up this year. So we're solid. KBF Trail Series, Hobie Bass Open Series, and BASS, the Nation Kayak. So those three trails. Jody Queen, no surprise. I mean, that guy, he's already off to an incredible start as always. Matt Ball.
Surprised he's down at fourth, though. That's a little surprising to me that he wasn't in a top three.
Yeah, I mean, he could have suffered slightly when we raised his salary when he won the 10.
That's
what I'm saying? Anybody that joined the game after that, he was the highest priced angler. He was 1,000 below Russ. It could have been affected a little bit by that. So he probably would have been honestly second. You almost have to eat the chalk up at the top with Russ and Jody. I mean, honestly, the way they've done for the last 3 or so years, you got to kind of eat the chalk. For me, I'm looking at me. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. A lot of people have me. I'm fishing like 12 to 14 events, not like 20 something like some of these anglers. Like I'm sure Cody and Siddiqui and Russ and Jody. They get to they fish. Christine, they fish more than I do. So hey, let's hope I can come through for all those that have me on their team. Then let's just read off the list here. Matt Ball. I mean, look at that. He's up at like 5th overall in the ownership percentage. Probably around 15% owned. Derek Brundle's next. Casey Reed, Adam Reiser, Greg Blanchard. That's a sneaky one. Blanchard's sneaky because he's obviously not going to have a lot of opportunities to fish because West Coast doesn't have as many events this year. But he usually gets the national championship. He's going to do the one that's out there on the West Coast, and he may sneak in some others. You just don't ever know with that guy. So and that's why he was so low priced, because we knew he wasn't going to get to as many events. So hopefully next year, and I'm pulling for the West Coast, man. These trails, I don't think that the West Coast guys really even care if, let's say, if AJ didn't go out there, right? Or if, Chad Hoover and the crew wasn't out there. If you just had somebody that ran those out there for those trails, I mean, if you're a West Coast guy, come on. I mean, would you be happy with that just to have the payouts, the national recognition, be able to get the AOY points? Wouldn't you rather have events out there with some other sort of director for that West Coast and not have Chad and AJ and Dwayne and the guys from I mean, come on. Some comments out there. I can't see the comments right now. I'm just looking at my screen, but you guys chime in. I just feel like that would be better. So anyway, that's a nice pickup, Greg Blanchard. Ryan Lambert, I mean, there's a ton of TVA tournaments, as always. He's always a stud on TVA, as he's proving right now in Watts Bar. So Craig Dye, he's on my team. He was a steal. He's next. Josh Stewart. Now we're going down to, if you're listening to the audio, at about 10% ownership for Josh Stewart. Craig Dye is a little over 10. Josh Stewart, Corey Dreyer, Alan Reed, Matthew Connett, Eric Jackson. That's another one I thought was a good value. Eric Jackson is going to fish a lot of stuff, and he knows how to catch them. So good value there, and he's owned almost 10%. Cody Milton is down. He's a sleeper because last year he earned a lot. 16 or I think $1,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as much as he did the year before. So he's a little bit of a sleeper coming into the year, which so is Jamie Dennison, who is a real low priced angler. I know you got him.
Yeah, I picked him up
on your team. He fishes a lot of stuff. So
I super stacked my team somehow. I worked the numbers a little bit.
You did. You have a great team. And you guys screenshot your teams. Once we add the points to this game, which is going to happen after this weekend's tournament on Watts Bar for Hobie, we're going to add all the scores, all the money that anglers earned, and we will get going from this point forward. After every event, Ken's going to try to upload those scores as fast as possible, as long as he can get the data from Bass, Hobie, KBF. And then let's quickly run down the rest here while I got them up. Gene Jensen, Josh Sharp, Brian Howe, Jackson Orr, Eric Siddiqui. They're all getting into about 7% owned now. Jimmy McClurkin, Nate Hall, who's one of your big sleepers on your team, super low price. So he was highly owned because people saw value there. Richie McMichael, Kurt Smits, who's doing well right now in the tournament. Mike Elsey, absolute stud, and who won the national championship 2019. Guillermo, I got him on my team. Gonzalez, Ken Wood, Donald Harshman, Josh Booth, Jason Broach, Jay Wallen, and Dwayne Beatty round out the folks that registered enough, at least 5% own or more. So that's that. Let's stop sharing this screen, and
yeah, we got Mark Bradford showing up. What's up, Mark? Welcome.
All right, what's up? What's up, Mark?
And there's a Nate Hall fan in the house.
That's right.
Recognition.
Hey, we did a little cool fantasy league with Mark the other day.
Mark and Jake and some of the other Ohio guys. Yeah, it was
for MLF.
A little MLF private little for fun club. So we'll see how that shakes out this week.
We will see how it shakes out. Give us a rooting interest for the Red Crest tournament. I feel like I haven't seen an MLF tournament in like a year. Like it's been that long since the tournament. It's just sort of that gap kind of hurt them a little bit, I think. Out of sight, out of mind, But let's see. What's next? Let's go to we actually have guys. I feel like we're almost looking professional, almost too professional, dude. We have a private chat going with exactly our topics. We have all these cool graphics.
This is way more scripted than we're used to. It's hard. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, this is your podcast, but let's talk about you on a different podcast. You were able to you were invited to go on BTL or Bass Talk Live Wednesday last week, correct?
Yeah. You guys,
it was awesome because I didn't get to watch it live. I was at work, but I watched it over the weekend. I think it was yesterday. And, you were able to talk about kayak fishing in general and kind of bring it into the bass boat side and the more of like the regular bass world and get us a little bit more, throw some knowledge out there and what's going on with our tournament scene. So how'd that go? Recap that for us.
Yeah, man. I want you guys to I'm going to share this screen. If you can share it. I don't know if you can put that up there if I need to. Let me know if you got it.
It's up.
All right. So I was able to go on Bass Talk Live. If you don't know Bass Talk Live, you really should be listening to this show. It's a really educational show. They get into some industry talk and behind the scenes sort of business stuff, but a lot of it's very educational. I mean, you can see here this was the week. Bernie Schultz went on, who fishes on the Bass Elite Series and has been fishing a long time on it. And he's super knowledgeable. And so Pete Glusick was on, the dean of the Bass University. Then they had me on. And then this is the show I'm a huge fan of, Day 4 with Frank Scalish. I mean, if you want to learn about fishing lures and how to tweak them, adjust them, when to use them, the right rod, reel setup, whatever, and it's all live, it's all interactive. You guys, Bass Talk Live is awesome. Go check it out. But I was on like I said recently, and if you click on this, you're on their website, just the Bass, it's called basszone.com. And you can watch the replay. I don't know where you can click on it. Click here for the show. I don't know. It's on here somewhere.
It's also on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so let's see if I go here. Either way, you guys get the idea. You go back and you can watch. This is the most recent one, but you can go back and find it, the show with me, or you can listen to it on iTunes. So check it out. It was a good show. I think I got a lot of good feedback, and I represented the industry pretty well. I got across most of the points that I wanted to get across. Here, I'm trying to remove this here.
And
Stop sharing the screen. Let's get back.
Jake points out that Frank is a Cleveland guy, so he's you're a local.
That's right.
A local legend for you now, I guess. At this
yes.
point,
Frank is
the Northeast Ohio area now.
Yeah, that's right. I want to get out there on the water with him one of these days. That's what I want to do. But yeah, it was a good show. Go back and listen to it. It's just cool to see these bigger mainstream bass fishing world shows and podcasts have us on and see some credibility and a little respect for the kayak fishing community. We've been working at this hard for 15, 20 years. And it's only taken that long to finally, get on some of these shows. And it was a really, really good show, super informative. And it wasn't all just like, hey, here's what kayak fishing is. You get a measuring board, you have your phone. We got past that. I think everyone's past that a little bit into some deeper stuff. So it was pretty cool. And those guys are awesome. Hopefully I'll be on more. They want to have me on, like they said, at least every 4 to 5 weeks. And I can update them on the fantasy game and try to get more just notoriety for all the trails, all the anglers, because that's my goal. Obviously, it's important for me. It's great for my sponsors and personally, of course. But this is bigger than just me. And that's why I want to get the names of more anglers out there and help them see that it's not just myself or Christine or Ryan Lambert, who's on Ike Live, or the big names, like a few of the big names that have been on these shows. You guys out there in the kayak fishing community know it. We have anglers with all kinds of awesome personalities, really cool kayak setups and unique ways they fish, catch fish, creative ways. Even think about Mike Elsey winning the national championship and his tactic, which he gave away on stage, which he regrets now, as we both, kind of said under our breath to each other while we were on stage, because I finished second to him in 2019. But I'll rehash it now. Sorry, Mike, I'm giving away some of the juice here. But this is Hooked on Wild Waters. That's what we do. So he said, what I did is I dead sticked a Cinco.
Wait, are we doing a recap?
What?
Are we doing a mini recap?
We are doing a mini recap.
All right, hold on.
It's a mini recap.
There we
go. I'll do the Real Tree recap. 2019 Kayak Bass Fishing National Championship, which is actually a preview also, because we're back to Shreveport this year in the fall. So exact same location. So it's a mini recap and a preview all in one. That's how we do it here. So he was dead sticking a Cinco. He'd throw it by a cypress tree, and this is the genius part of it. Instead of reeling it in, letting it soak for a minute, reeling it in, throwing it to the other side, reeling it in, throw it to the other side, he pedaled his kayak around the big cypress tree and let that line just work its way around the tree. So it covered every single part of that 360-degree radius. And if a fish doesn't eat a Cinco when it's being circled around a cypress tree, trust me, there are no bass on that cypress tree. You know it for sure. So that kind of stuff is what we have to offer the fishing world. Creative ways to catch fish, get into places that boats can't get. And we have guys that are really smart. So hopefully the world will see that as I'm able to hopefully get on more of these mainstream shows, which, by the way, surprise to you, my friend, you didn't know this, but guess what? I was on another show last night out of the blue. Yeah, I was on another show. I unexpected.
Unexpected. All right. Making your way around, huh?
Yeah.
Jumping on shows all willy-nilly.
Yeah, so
popping into Scott Butcher, being on Bass Talk Live, whatever. I'm just gonna pop in and be on your show. Do you just are you hack in or are you actually invited? I was sort of
both. Really, but I kind of just pushed my way in, I guess, somehow. So anyway, I'm hanging out. I'm watching my son this weekend. My wife's away, girls' weekend with her aunt. They're having a good time, and I'm watching, my son Theo, and we're hanging out. And he goes to bed. Next thing you know, like Ike comes on with the Instagram Live. I'm like, what's Ike up to? What am I doing here? And he's like, hey, we're about to go live with Ike Live. You guys tune in, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I know you got nothing else going on tonight anyway. Tune in. Let's go. Ike Live. So I'm like, all right, look, I've never watched an Ike Live live. I listened to it. So just not live, watch it, listen to it. No, Jake, I wasn't on Oprah. Come on, man. Does Oprah still do a show, by the way?
I haven't had cable in like 12 years. So I have no idea.
I haven't either. But anyway, so I'm listening to the show, and then they said, hey, we're even going to bring on some viewers tonight. We haven't done this in forever. So, Brian the Carpenter, the producer of the show, he's going to kick out the Zoom, information. So I don't really use Zoom a lot, but I get on there, and next thing I know, like, I'm in the show. And I'm like talking, but it's not in the show like this. I'm having audio problems. So I'm in the show and they can see me, and I'm sitting here trying to talk, and it's just the show was already off the rails at that point anyway. So I'm sure it wasn't a big deal, but it was horrible because I'm like, everything checked out well. My mic tested okay. I could hear that, that give you a beep. Can you hear this? Yes,
yeah.
I can hear it. Talk now, and if you hear it back, your mic's working. I talked. I heard the audio back, play back to me. I said yes. Everything, boom, you're good. Every time I would go in the show, no audio. I'm sitting here looking like a fool. So anyway, eventually, somehow,
they're probably muting you on the background. They were debating you.
Well, Brian, I don't know what was going on, but somehow I went out of it. I updated Zoom, went back in, still didn't work. Eventually, long story short, I get into the show. And we talk a little bit about kayak fishing. I was giving Ike a little bit of a compliment when I talked to him in the parking lot of the Hobie BOS Susquehanna. It was pretty cool to me, man, because I have been around a lot of professional bass anglers on the boat side. And I explained that, look, man, I got to be honest, there are a few guys out there, not more than a few, that have been doing this a long time and still have a fire and a passion for it, like the first day they got out there. And his frustration at himself the day we talked in the parking lot about how, he finished 12th, which was the last person in the money. So he cashed a check at 112 people. He did really well. But he's over there like just the fire's burning. He's ticked off at himself. All he can talk about with me is like, God, man, like I got to just learn how to practice better. I got to figure out if the spot's not working, then I got to have somewhere else to go where I don't have to load back up. And he's just like, he's trying to figure the puzzle out, which is why I think it intrigues him, because he's done the bass boat world for so long, and it's still a puzzle. Bass are always a puzzle, but they go back to the same lakes, the same thing over and over. This is new. It's a new puzzle. So it's still the same puzzle with bass, but now you add in the kayak. And he was just burning. The fire was still there. It was pretty cool to see. A lot of guys, I guess, and this isn't a knock on these guys, but I do know a lot of pro anglers who, when they talk about the sport, when they're hanging out, it's more just, it feels more like that, like this is my 9 to 5. I got to go do this. Then I have to go do that. It's work. It's not the same passion and fervor I'm sure it was when they were trying to work their way up. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But Ike still has that fire. That's pretty cool to see, man. Hopefully
that's awesome.
I'll keep that as well. I know a lot of folks in the kayak fishing world have it, and anyway, it was just cool. So I was able to go on Ike Live and chat with those guys a little bit. They weren't ready with a bunch of kayak questions. It wasn't like the greatest, discussion like we had on BTL, I'll be honest with you, but it was cool to be on there. And it actually was tough because I went on when the show was already off the rails, and I don't know these guys well enough to be like, really ribbing on them, ripping on them. And that's kind of like this guy, John, who went on before me. We've been messaging back and forth. He knows those guys well. He's like, just giving them crap and laying into them. And that's what they're all about at this point, because they've been drinking. So it was cool. Hopefully I'll get back on one of these days and we can talk about some topics that are little, if we have some prep time. I think I have some good topics we could bring up with that crew, but it was fun.
Speaking of puzzles, and a little bit of scouting and stuff like that, we had, just to kind of segue into the last little topic before we get into the big one. There was a major announcement this week.
Big announcement.
A big announcement this week from BASS Nation Kayak Series that they changed the venue of their championship in June. So
yes,
I know you have feelings on that.
I do.
Let's talk about them.
I do. Okay.
They changed the puzzle on you.
They did change the puzzle. Let me hear you guys in the comments on this, because they did change our venue. They changed it from Lake Louisville to Possum Kingdom Lake. So, it's changed on us.
Cody's graphic ready.
Yeah, I know, right? You should
throw on the screen or something.
I've been Googling Possum Kingdom. Trust me, Toadies comes up a lot. You really need to make sure you put the word bass in. When you type in Possum Kingdom, you're doing your Google research, make sure to include the word bass. Actually, not even bass. You need the word fishing, because then bass is also spelled the same way bass is. So if you don't have the word fishing and bass in there, you're going to get a lot of musical stuff from the Toadies. So anyway, it's definitely an older reference for those of you who don't know. It's a song band. Possum Kingdom was the album, I believe. Is that right?
Check it out while you're on the internet. Just listen to it. It's fine.
Yeah. So
we'll get DCMA'd or whatever, but
I'm gonna
do it on your own.
Yeah. Here's my take on this, and I got to be careful because I'm not. Overall, Bass is doing what they feel is best for the anglers. I 100% firmly believe that in my heart. They're not doing it for any other reason, obviously, but for the anglers and for them as well, but for the anglers to make sure this is going to be the best event possible. It's kind of a bummer that it was moved, in my opinion, because a lot of people have spent a lot of time, including myself, doing research on Lake Louisville, and we weren't vocal about how much we were excited about Lake Louisville because we never expected them to change it. And if any of the reason, there you go, Possum Kingdom. If any of their reasoning was they changed this because of the complaints, there was a ton of complaints about Lake Louisville, tons of them. It's no surprise that Lake Louisville didn't all of a sudden become not a great fishery. It's always been that way. It's not the most touted in Texas. It's not the greatest. We get it. But it was that way when they chose it. You know what I'm saying? They knew that. They know the lake. They just did it open there in the fall, and the fishing was not that great. It's fall, late summer, fall. It's never going to be good anywhere, but it was not that great. But honestly, I was looking forward to the challenge and the grind. I feel like if you look at golf and the U.S. Open and the British Open, the Masters, they set up those courses to be the hardest courses possible, and some of them are not as hard. But it's cool when a couple of those major tournaments are super hard, because it's just more of a truer test to, who's the better angler. If you can tough it out, grind it out, and find fish in a place that's that hard, you really have proven that you are, the best angler, on that day. Now, I love it when it's a slugfest. Don't get me wrong. I wish it was that way. A lot of the times, which it is, it's usually in better times of the year, but I just hope it wasn't changed because people were complaining about the fishery being a poor fishery, because it's not that bad. And in the spring, just a little heads up, guys, I talked to Matthew Scotch the other day, because when it was moved to Possum Kingdom, I want to have Matthew Scotch on for a preview of Possum Kingdom, and I'm going to have Guillermo Gonzalez and Matthew Scotch on. It's like their home lake. They know it well. We're going to do sort of like we did with Captain Goggles for the Kissimmee chain, for KBF's Kissimmee chain. We're going to preview this lake. But anyway, it's a better lake, no doubt about it, for fishing. The stringers are going to be bigger. I get it. But a lot of us were quietly very, very excited, very happy about Louisville and looking forward to the challenge. And now we've also lost a lot of deposits and again, this isn't like our full-time job, full-time thing. And it's hard for guys. People lost as much. I saw one guy lost $1,000 deposit because they had a big mansion, and it was 50% non-refundable on Airbnb. I didn't lose as much, but I did lose those about 40, 50 hours of research. I'd much rather been spending time with my son, my wife. So I kind of wish they would have just kept it the same. But in their defense, I got to, positively think they were doing it, looking out for the best for the anglers. So whatever, we got a new puzzle to start figuring out now. So
yeah, I'm going to bring this back up. Because Brian says, although they changed the puzzle, PKL, which is Possum Kingdom, looks very promising, ready for the new puzzle, and should be a lot safer for the kayak anglers. So
yeah, that's the thing though. I don't think it's gonna be any safer. Even Matthew Scotch on the phone said if the weather's nice, there's gonna be just as many on people in Possum Kingdom as Louisville. Guys, this was the early June, middle of the week. School isn't even out yet. That's why I don't know, man. I don't know. It was not going to be like some, just part, like, I don't know. It wasn't a weekend. It wasn't the 4th of July. It wasn't the middle of the summer, July, August. It was middle of the week in June. So anyway, it's going to be busy on Possum Kingdom, just as busy.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We got to move on and just stay positive and, thank Bass for all that they're doing. Just even have us in the mix and give us these opportunities to win $97,000 purse if the full 270 come. Obviously, the full 270 is not going to come. I'm looking forward to the winner hopefully taking home around, I don't know, $30,000 or $40,000. If we get a couple hundred people there, so
that'd be nice.
That'd be real nice.
Be a good championship for sure.
Yeah. Hey, I was born in Fort Worth, so I'm looking to come home and and do my best. So
this is my birthright.
Yes, I tell you what though, I'm telling you, it is just it's a bummer that someone's fortunate outcome it just changed. Like, we don't know it, but I promise you, the odds of the same person winning Louisville and Possum Kingdom are so slim. Someone, lost an opportunity that they would have had, and someone just gained. And it could be some local who knows that lake really well. I feel like Possum Kingdom, there weren't a lot of people. Louisville, there weren't a lot of kayak anglers who are qualified for this event who know that lake really well, because it's not the more popular lakes to fish. Possum Kingdom is, Ray Roberts is, Lake Fork is, Sam Rayburn, all those other lakes in Texas, Travis. So I felt like it was a better, test of a more neutral ground. Now we only have, if you got the email, the qualified anglers, we only have 2.5 days to do prep work. Only 2.5 days to actually pre-fish on the water. Only 2.5. I thought it was like 3.
Yeah, the limited pre-fish time.
Yes,
because it's off limits for like a month or so, right? And then like 2 days before day one,
right.
You're allowed to be on the water again
until 2:00 on that whatever that is. I guess a Wednesday or Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So till 2:00. So you're off water by 2. It gets dark at probably like 8 p.m. that time of year. So we lose all that. So it's just 2.5 days. That's going to be real challenging. And quite frankly, it probably sets up pretty good for the locals who have history there and have fished it that time of the year in years prior. So, hey, I got Joseph Sanderson, Guillermo on my fantasy team. So maybe those guys will
silver lining.
do well.
Fantasy silver lining.
Always trying to take the positive.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. But
I'm sure you'll get into something. But
hey.
Ultimately everybody's in the same boat. Except those guys that are local are a handful out of the 200. So what's the chances that they may have more backup spots, but they're prime spots. So you may find it and be in their way. You know what I mean? Somebody may burn it up in those 2 days of practice just trying to find places to fish. So as ultimately it's inconvenient. It's unfortunate for financial situation, going to a different place, finding a new place, losing deposits, like that sort of stuff. But when it comes down to the fishing, all the same fish are in the same lake that you're fishing with everybody else. It's the competition doesn't change. It's just kind of the organization and the planning for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Headache. So you just got to go out there and catch bigger fish than everybody else.
Yep, we'll go out there and give it our best,
easy.
man. Yeah, exactly.
Just do it.
So let's I guess let's move on to our next topic.
You want to get into the juice, the meat of this episode, 43 minutes later?
Exactly. Before we do this here, as we're going live in the current, so hashtag live in the current or live in the current for Crescent Kayaks here on our live stream. I also want to say shout out to Realtree Fishing. They're the headline sponsor. At some point, we like to get them into the show. I know you see them behind me and whatnot, but I'm wearing this cool puffer jacket. It's pretty cool. Got to do that like this. And Realtree there, you can see it. Dude, this thing is comfortable as all get out. It's a new product on their website. And I expect this thing to be like, $100 something bucks. Patagonia one like this is like $200. I looked up $60. And it's got a hood.
It's not bad.
Patagonia doesn't have the hood. So anyway, shout out to them. They're making some cool stuff. But obviously their main, they make some products of their own. They have on their website, but their main thing is licensing their brand out to other companies. And so shout out to Realtree Fishing for caring so much about the kayak fishing world to support us and support the major trails. Now, moving on.
Moving
Uh,
on.
Rhino Joe, we see your. That's a good comment there. Get to that at some point. I like that for discussion. Moving on. So the topic of the show is the scouting and prep work, and I'm gonna have to share a screen here, but and we're not gonna get into crazy detail here, but just enough to get you guys going, get you started if you've never done this before. Like, where do you begin on a lake? How do you break it down? And then, if anybody, of course, ever wants to hire me for a guide service or educational trip, which is what I love to do, is to teach people. We'll definitely get into deeper stuff on those, like I've done with a lot of the clients that have used me in the past for that. But we're going to give you guys still a lot of the juice here and in the time we have available to get into this. So let's use a lake that's not one of the lakes that we're going to be fishing. Let's use Ray Roberts, because I know some local trails probably go there, but I've never fished it, so I don't know what's good. I'm just kind of like going to pull up a map here and zoom around and show you guys some areas and how I would break this thing down. But the Bassmaster Classic will be held on Ray Roberts, so this is sort of a cool chance for you guys who are watching this on live stream or on YouTube, Facebook afterwards, to see that lake, get familiar with it, because in a short amount of time, the Bassmaster Elite Series guys will be there. So let's share my screen so you guys can see a little bit of what I do. And there's a lot more that goes into this, I'm telling you, than what we're going to talk about today. So here we go. Application window. I'm going to choose Chrome. So I got lots of maps pulled up here. Here's the far wide. You guys have it pulled up yet?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. And then, you know what stinks? I may have to go to something else here in a minute. But so what I do is I pull up a few things. One, I have Farwide's app up here, and I've also got Google Maps up right here. So let me actually bring this way. And then Google Maps, you can do this a lot of ways, but one way you can do it, and it's probably the easiest, is you go to your menu over here. You can click on your places right down here, and then you can see your maps. And you can see I've got a lot of maps here for a lot of these different tournaments, right? And then you can create a new map right here. You can create new map. So let's make a new map. Let me know if I start lagging or if anything,
Okay. I dropped the overlays so we don't have anything covering up any of the screen. So
okay, cool. You could title this map and say Ray Roberts. And you could add a description there if you want.
What's up, Marty? How's Virginia doing today, huh?
And then you zoom in, obviously, to Ray Roberts here. But I jump between 3 tabs, usually. And I'm not going to talk about Navionics yet right now, because it's just too much to get into, or any other lake master, any other lake maps you use. It's no doubt that's a big part of it, and you're going to want to find those offshore spots using those. But just for time's sake and simplicity's sake, and for those who you'll still be able to find offshore spots with what I'm about to show you guys. But for simplicity's sake and for the style of fishing I like to do more often than not, this is what I do first. So the far wide app is important. So what I like to do is I like to get a lay of this lake. I'm not going to throw this into satellite mode right now, but you can see here, you zoom out, your main creek and river arms are here. Here might be a decent size one here, and here. There's about 1, 2, 3, I would say 4, 5, maybe 5 good major tributaries. So you can check that. You can obviously click on satellite. You can go to, I think it's over here, your base map right here. You can change it. You can go to terrain, which is helpful, but sometimes satellite just takes a little bit more data. But anyway, you can kind of see this. I love to zoom out and get a super huge view of where this water is coming from, where the basin is for this lake. Clearly, this is all farmland over here, a little bit of woods going on here. When you see these sort of, I don't know how to explain these right here. This is like you got some elevation changes. This could actually all be a plateau, it looks like. And then this, because Texas is a little different. This is a plateau, and this is elevation going down. So these, that's what it looks like, at least. Maybe, yeah, it looks like it. So this lower elevation here, it's all going down into Lake Louisville and cutting through this sort of plateau there. But anyway, I like to get a very big picture, because maybe you'll notice, for example, Gunnersville, the east side of Gunnersville, it kind of goes this direction, has a lot more mountains, and you'll be able to see that when you zoom way out. And so it's draining steeper creeks, and sometimes that can give you some clues on what kind of water clarity or what kind of nutrients are going to be feeding into a lake. More farmland, you might have some muddier water. And as you zoom in, you'll probably notice that there probably is a little bit murkier water coming out of this one. This creek right here, I noticed, has a lake. Let me zoom out. There was another lake here. I'm going to go back to my other. You're just learning some overall things like this, like there's a small lake that's dammed right here. So whenever you see a lake like this, the silt is being held up in this lake from this main creek or river. So you're going to have cleaner water coming out of this creek. So this creek right here is generally, when it rains, is going to be clearer than all the other creeks. You can learn things like that when you zoom way out. Okay. So that's the first takeaway. The other map I have open, obviously, is far wide, and I also have Google Earth Pro, which it's not on my Chrome. I know they have an online version, but it's not on my Chrome tab here. But I'll pull it up in a minute. But let's take far wide over to Ray Roberts so you guys can see why this is a helpful map to have open at the same time. And you're going to bounce back and forth between these tabs. And Ken, you tell me if there's comments or if you have a question, because I'm just looking at on my map here. I can't.
Already, Jake, our buddy Jake Horn said, I spend a ton of time doing map study on Google Earth and Maps. I had no idea you could save places like that. So yeah, you can create these custom maps where you drop pins, and I'm sure you're just going to get into it more, but you can completely customize a map that is specific for a trip. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely you can. So what you can do, well, before I actually leave that thought, that's a good point. Glad we have the viewers here helping us out. I'm going to go back to, I like to see it in satellite. I'm going to go to, I'm going to just drop a pin on something here. Just whatever. Like, let's drop a pin on this creek's a clear creek. So let's say it rains before this event. I might want to drop a pin just like right here. You can you actually click this right here, and you can add a point. So you can add a point, and maybe let's just, I don't know, let's just drop it anywhere. Let's say there's a little point right there. Let's just say it's a very small point, but you can name this. You click on it. You can actually edit it right here. Small, subtle point, whatever. And this is going to come into play later, but you could add a description here if you want. Type in what it is, what you see. Let's say you went to YouTube. Man, I'm giving away a lot of stuff here, guys. Let's say you go to YouTube and you, it's probably a bad example right here, but you go to YouTube and you can change colors, by the way. You can add a marker here. You can make it look at whatever you want to look at. You can put different icons in here. Let's say there's some fish icons. I'm going to get back to that YouTube thought here in a second. But, there's a flag. You might want to make a pin for your tournament headquarters on your map, and then start dropping pins on places that as you zoom in and peruse the entire lake, which I don't do as much on Google Maps on the internet as I do on Google Earth Pro. But as you zoom in here and you peruse every single piece of the shoreline of this lake, that's kind of what you're going to do, right? You want to scout a lake out by going around every single piece of cover. Yep. You can drop a pin, and let's just suppose that you dropped a pin. One thing I like to do, right by this bridge. Let's say you found a video on YouTube and somebody caught a fish and they had this bridge in the background. You could drop a pin there, like bridge. You can name the bridge, whatever, bridge fish. And then you could sit there and paste the link in YouTube link to that video. So you always have that there. You can click save. And then this will come in handy later, because as you get so many pins put on this map, you're going to forget. And so the fact that you put that on there now is smart, because you'll go back and any reference you can, put in there, whether it's an image or a YouTube video, a link to it, add it in that description. You'll need it at some point, potentially later. You can triangulate stuff sometimes when you see things in the background. So that's just a little tip. It's possible. Takes a little bit of work, but you can do it, and at least gives you a little bit of a start. It doesn't mean the guy in the YouTube video caught that fish the same time of the year, the same water level, the same temperature, but at least at one point you knew there was a fish there in that area, and that's not a bad thing, to have. Every little piece of information can help along the way. So far wide comes in really handy because if you notice, they have all these creeks and rivers, like this. And here's where it's tricky. Google Maps, if you go back to your map and you actually were to, if you were to try to follow some of these creeks upstream, this is kind of a small one, but sometimes you lose them. You lose them. You can't find where it goes. There's hard.
Trees over cover that kind of covers them up, and
you don't,
stuff like that.
Sometimes you don't know the name of the creek, and it's hard. You're like, what creek is that? You zoom in like this, and you're like, come on, show me the name, Google. Ticked off, man. Why didn't you name your creek? You name all your roads. You can switch it to a different view, and sometimes when you switch it to a different view, the name will pop up. Right now, I'm trying to get the name of this creek to pop up, but you can see how frustrating it is. That creek
disappeared.
It's like, it's not a very big creek I'm working with here. So, and the bigger the creek, actually, the harder it is for the name to pop up. Usually, if you get on a small little line like this, the name will show, but it's not showing, right? So you could switch to this map over here, or you could get smart and get far wide. And far wide I don't know where I was exactly. I think it was right here. This little creek is so small, it doesn't even show up on far wide. But if I'm in the same place here, I think I am. But right here, I can click on this creek on far wide to get your cursor to look like that. See, if you're right here, it's an open hand. If you're right here, it's a index finger. So click on it, and over here, and it'll tell you that is Indian Creek. It's 11.7 miles long. But it actually took the amount of creek above the lake and below the lake. I can click over here. I can see this creek over here. That is Timber Creek. It's 20.3 miles, but there's a little bit right here that is called Jordan, and it connects to Jordan Creek. So really, essentially, I know that I can add 10 plus 11, and the water for right here is about, 20. This creek's 20 plus this was like 10 or 11. So that's 30 miles of water I've got coming into this little bit right here. That's a decent amount of water. Maybe not so much in Texas where it gets pretty dry. Plus there's more little drainages like this one. There's not a lot of them there, but you can actually see and easily find the biggest drainage, which I know it's going to be this creek here. 99.4 miles. This is the Elm Fork of the Trinity River. And you can see it clearly now. It's 99.4 miles. This can help you see what may be in bounds with your kayak fishing tournament. Some places you could go that are further away. And it's just, so here's a tip. This is going to vary depending on where you're at. Texas is a drier climate sometimes, part of the year. There's some desert here. But in general, if a creek is around 30 miles long, when you click on it, this far wide app, if it's 30 miles long, and I'm saying 30 in a combined 30, like adding these two like I did here. If you can get it to be that long, you may have enough water in there and I'm not saying there's going to be giants in it, but you may find a limit there. You might
get a population.
Could be a population of fish worth checking into. The bigger it is, obviously, then it could potentially have some bigger fish, and even tributaries off of it could have some fish. So click on this one here. 11.7 miles. It's not much.
Up an arm and up an arm and up an arm and up an arm.
Yeah. Exactly. But this app's cool. You can also, I think there's a spot on here, so you can click on other map layers. You can get your USGS gauges pulled up on it. And if you can go over here and do satellite with far wide. So you still have satellite. You can, I think, measure your line string tool. You can measure. There's a lot of cool tools on here. And then let's see, is it here? It's not here. If there isn't a way you can also pull up, trying to find where it is.
Rhino Joe Outdoors says this is the sauce for someone who's going to try to start tournament kayak fishing. So
There we
We're
go.
really getting into some.
Yeah,
We're touching on some deep planning here. So
gonna help a lot of folks for sure. This is where you can go to. This is another key right here. So there's fishing categories. You can go to water body designation. Let's see, fishing quality. There's some. I'm trying to think. There's map layers. Let's see what this is. Okay, here we go. That's what I was looking for. Fishing and boating access. You can turn on boat ramps, springs. You see how they all just popped up? Fishing access sites, waterfalls. Like, why not turn them all on, man? So now I have all the access points right there. These are all my access points to the lake. Now, this isn't including every bridge that may be a public access point, which you still need to know the laws in that state. But most states you can access at bridges. Some of them, you may not be able to, but most of the time there's a public right of way at bridges. Public land, you can turn all the public land on, which is nice because you can see in them highlighted in green, where the public land is, makes it real easy to see. But here's the key though. Here's one of the main things. Private land. So let me actually go over here and do something different. I'm going to switch this screen. Give me a second to Google Earth. How do I do this? I'm going to remove this. Google Earth Pro. Can I share another screen at the same time? Let's just try this. Share screen. I'm going to share my Google. Hopefully this will work, man. I know this is running a lot of.
What's up, Drew? Just bought 13 fishing fate rod. Can't wait to use it.
Hey, there we go. Mitchell. Nice, man. Hey, I'm looking forward to? I love the fates. And the price point's nice for kayak fishing because it doesn't break the bank. They're light. They fish well. But what's cool, because they don't break the bank, I break rods, going to wild places. So that's pretty cool for sure, man.
We do break rods.
We do. I break a lot of rods. So it's nice that you can have a rod that's not too expensive, but it's high quality. So congrats on that purchase. So here you can also see there was some rain, and this again, look, it's draining farmland. See all those squares? That's just all farmland, like populated areas. As you get down to Dallas and Fort Worth, you can tell what that looks like, right? That's a populated area. It's going to have a lot of runoff that can be pretty murky as well. The quantity of water will, there'll be a lot of quantity in those areas because they're impervious surfaces, a lot of concrete, parking lots, things like that. But this is all farmland. So surprise, surprise. Again, I've never even looked at this lake, so I'm kind of doing this off the cuff here. Murky water in this creek arm. You may want murky water based on the way you fish. Somebody else may want clear water. You know what I mean? Someone's better. Maybe someone comes from, whatever, the mountains in the Carolinas, and they're used to fishing Lake Jocassee and Kiwi and Hartwell, and they love clear water. Well, they're going to look for that creek with the clear water. They're going to fish by the dam. You like murky water. You're from an area you're used to fishing murky water. There you go. It's a good creek to focus on. But what I want to do is zoom in because you can tell the water's high in this Google satellite image. But here's what's cool. This is odd. Look at this. It's almost like a little levee here, a little dam. I get closer. Again, I don't know if any of this is private. We're going to find out here in a minute. But look at this. You could sneak a kayak in right here if the water level is at this level when you fish this lake. Because here's what's cool about Google Earth. You can actually click on the Google Earth Pro. You can click on this right here. This icon is how I got this up. And now you can scroll back in time. So that was, let me go here. First of all, that was what, 11/2018 is when this satellite image was taken. Let's look at 12/2017. Oh, wait a second. If the water level is lower in the lake, you can't get into this. But this looks like it's a little lake. Possibly you could get into it if it's not private. This is going to probably open up another can of worms, whether or not, if the water floods in there, if you can get into it, if it's private. But we'll find out here in a second with our FarWide app. You can scroll back in time, and you can keep going and find a good satellite image. Look how flooded it is there in January 2016. But look how dry it is here. So this is probably the driest satellite image you're going to find. Look how dry it is in this lake, guys. You're about to see the bottom of this lake. And I'm telling you, this is juice that a lot of people already know about. So I'm not giving away new stuff, but I'm giving away new stuff to people who didn't know this. So, and you zoom in and you look at this bridge here. You can see where that riprap ends exactly. You can find any of the bigger sticks. You can find some humps that are out here, trees. You want to target anything unique, you can scroll. along the bank. You can find this little ditch here. You can just whatever, man. You can follow this channel, and I know you got Navionics. You can find this stuff too, but you can mark specific spots, and you can go back to your map. You can actually drop pins. I do that on here as well. I got tons of them. Drop pins on Google Earth as well. But you can just find unique stuff. I mean, what is this right here? This random thing here. I don't know. It looks almost man-made.
Like is it like an island and the water is up?
It's a hump. It is, but it almost looks like that was man-made because it's kind of a weird shape. You can just go around this lake. I mean, you could go everywhere and see everything on every shore. Like, look at this right here. That pond, if I scroll, is about to be flooded. So in one of these certain times of the year, that's the lake. You see that? There's a pond right there. That could have been an old pond, an old farm pond when they dammed this lake up. But it's fishable in the spring, the winter and the spring at those levels, it looks like. You go back, boom, not fishable. And check it out. I mean, it's for sure a pond from a farm pond, but that's because that's a dam. That's rock right there. They built this dam, and it doesn't take long. Like I said, I've never seen this lake in my life. But just quickly scrolling through here, I found, look at that, 2 or 3 more ponds that were, it could be little honey holes, when the water's up. Here's another one. It's a little dam there. I mean, it's just interesting, the stuff you can find. So I'm not going to scroll around this whole lake, but geez, here's more. It's just funny how all of these little ponds are on this lake. I don't know how perfect it was where they, flooded this lake that there happened to be that many farm ponds, right there, but at that exact level on the shoreline, but there apparently is. But lots of subtle stuff you can find, guys, and you can put pins on them and mark them, and then of course you can try to go fish them. But let's go over here, and this is an issue I want to bring up. Where's that? Here it is. This is the issue I want to bring up right here. So is this public? Where is that spot?
Right there.
Is that it?
Yeah. That
little weird thing that I found?
Yeah, I think it's.
Oh, yeah. So it's like way over here. And get me back flooded. So I can see it better when it's flooded, it seems like. Is it further over here? I'm at the wrong creek.
No,
am I at the wrong creek?
No, you were just too far up it.
It's too far up it? Oh, yeah, because it's so dry.
Yeah. True. Thought it was right around there.
I did too. We've lost our.
You didn't drop the pin is the issue.
Exactly. I didn't drop those pins. Let's go all the way back to the original view. And maybe it's not this creek, man.
Maybe not. I
don't think it's that creek. I think it's this one. Here it is. Okay.
Okay, it was the one north of it. Yeah.
The one north of it. All right. I thought it was the lower one. All right. So let's go check out Far Wide. Let me bring you guys back because we're going to have to figure out. This definitely would be a question for tournament directors if this would be something legal to get into or not when the water rises and your state laws. But let's go back to the Far Wide app. You guys got an idea of what Google Earth is good for, right? So
thanks, Duke. We just figured it out. He said wrong creek. It was the next creek north. So
Duke, you're on it, man. Hey, first timers here trying to pull this off, man. We're figuring it out. But let's stop sharing that screen. Let's go back to the other screen and share. Stop that screen, share another screen. All right. Go back to my Chrome. All right, here we go. So you can see I'm just flipping back and forth constantly between all these maps, right? So now we can go back to Far Wide. We can go over to this creek. Thanks to Duke, we now know it's this top one here. I can turn on my satellite imagery if I want. Oh, it was really flooded. Oh, no. Actually, this right here is highlighting the lake proper. Just so you know, it's kind of highlighted in blue like that. And there's a layer I've got turned on. It's highlighted the lake. It also kind of has lines along these creeks. So it's interesting to see when you click on private land parcels will click right here. Private parcel data will pop up. And then I can go back. Sometimes it's easier to go back to this view. No, maybe not in this situation. Again, we'd never looked at this creek. So you can clearly see, this is definitely a question for a tournament director. You guys get the point. You can find out who owns what land. You can click on it. So this is owned by, it's the Corps of Engineers. So this is the Corps of Engineers land, which technically says it's private, but that most likely is some public land there because the Corps owns it. So Corps of Engineers. So they own a lot of this land here anyway. So it's not private, but there's no access here. They just happen to own it. Does that make sense? So there's no, it doesn't look like there's access, but that's what this is good for, guys. It's for finding access. So if you wanted to know, I don't know, let's see if we can get lucky here and figure out if a road goes close to a creek. Like, I wish we just had this prep beforehand, but if a road went close to a creek, obviously there's bridges. So you can see it whenever there's a road that goes over a bridge. This is a small creek that's not even floatable, but you can see in the middle here, this is your public right of way. So that's, no one owns that. You can't click on it. If you click on any of these other parcels, you could find out that the Corps, man, is a private person going to own anything here? Okay. Dottie Tonda owns that land right there. Somebody Graves, John P, whatever, you get to know who owns what land. So you can kind of know what's private, what's public. So if a road gets close to, let's find out this main river here. That'll help. So you can probably access it at this. That's not the main river. Thought that was the Trinity. Here it is. So these roads here, this looks like creeks flowing to the Trinity River. But at some point, sometimes you'll see roads that go very close to a creek, right? Like right along it. And I wish I had one of those examples here because
we're trying to do this on the fly, whereas by this point, you would have dropped most of your pins by now.
Yeah.
So you'd be going back to one of your pins and be like, oh, this creek ran up here and it came across this bridge. You dropped a pin on it. Now I need to go double check. Can I access from here, or what's the situation? That sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking at this map is harder if you haven't pre-planned the spots that you want to look at with pins and making markers and stuff. That's
exactly.
why we're showing you how difficult it is to do this if you don't prep for this part.
Yeah, that's right. So on this one here, let's go back to the satellite imagery. This is back on the map that we're making. We dropped a pin there. We dropped a pin here. You can color code them. So what I do is I just zoom in tight. I zoom in tight and I just peruse the entire lake, up all the creeks, just peruse the whole thing. I mean, everything. And drop pins, just load it up. Just load the whole thing up with pins, right? And then what you do is give yourself a week. Wait a week. I don't know, 2 weeks, whatever, however long you want, day. And then go back and do the whole thing again and then you'll see your pins, but go do it again. And as you come across some of the pins, you'll probably realize you can pull some away. And what I mean is when you got 50 pins or 60 pins, or maybe you'll change the color on some of them because you got to color like which ones are top priority. Yeah. When you change the pins, you can only scout and pre-fish so many, right? I mean, so many places. So you might want to change the color of your pins that are the high priority. So you might, but you don't know which ones are the best, right?
Or by location of what you can scout in one day. So like your green ones are your day one scout, your blue ones are all the points that you could hit in your day two scouting, that sort of, like you can organize it what works best for you. You just have to figure that out.
Yeah, do what works. I like it. Do what works best for you. This is a tool at your availability here. And even Google here's got the measuring tool, so you can measure the distance. It's another tool, by the way. So if you want to find out how far it is, if you wanted to measure right here you just keep dragging and clicking different points, follow this creek up, because the far wide app will tell you how long the creek is in total, but it won't tell you.
You can measure out a specific paddle or float that you like. I have to get 7 miles up this creek to get to the spot that I want to check. Like, because if you do a straight line, it's not going to be the same amount of distance as winding in and out of those curves. So you can get super detailed because you just know, you know your body. And if you know that you can only paddle 10 miles a day, then you know what your restrictions are on what spots you can get to. Like,
kind of going quick here. Just, man, am I missing? Is there not, hadn't crossed a bridge yet? I was just trying to see. I mean, we're already at 10 miles from the nearest bridge. So forget it. You can, almost forget about that creek other than accessing it from the lake or that river, because that's a long way. I'm not going to keep going, but you get the point. That's just another tool I want to show you guys. So I'll stop. Here we go. Get back to my hand symbol. But peruse the whole lake, right? Zoom in on everything. Zoom in on all the rivers, creeks, whatever your style is. And look at this. It's interesting. Separate little thing there. Find out, like, this is a good example. A lot of lakes will have a culvert, separating little things like this, little smaller lakes and coves like this that are separated by a road. A lot of times I have a big culvert or a pipe that a bass boat can't get through, but a kayak can. So actually the better one to look at is this one right here. So you can usually find where that culvert or that pipe is, because that water is the same color. It looks like it's connected to me. I mean, the water's connected, not the, you know what I mean? Like necessarily connected where you could get to it, but it's connected. Trust me, there's a pipe somewhere. That water is too much the same color. I can't find it right now, but what you can do on this map is, I'm trying to think. Well, and actually you have to go back to, you might be able to do it somewhere on here. You can actually drop a pin. Now I'm really giving away some stuff. I wish you could do it here. I don't know if you can, but you can go back to
Google. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you can go back to, there we go. Let's just go back over here.
Ignore those hearts.
Yeah, right. Go back over here. You can go to, where is this? All right, let's find our spot. Go up here. You can just click and hold and drop. Here, I'll click satellite. You guys can see. You could drop a dude here. And what I mean is the street view guy, this guy, right? But you can click on it and it'll pop this up. You can click on it. And you can at least, look at that. Look how low the lake is. Good Lord. But you can find your street view. So you can move forward. You can find that culvert or that pipe ditch. You could, let's assume there was a pipe right here or a culvert. You could actually see if you think it is able to get under. So telling you, man, these are some secret juicy tips here. I don't know why we give away all this stuff, but and there's a lot more, but we're not gonna get into every single thing. But that's a tip. You can use the tool, the Street View, to check some things out, and it'll help you guys do some scouting without being there in person. So after you get around, you've dropped all your pins, done all that, right?
You looked at property lines, see if some of the put-ins that you want to look at that aren't necessarily boat ramps are legal or not. Double checking that sort of stuff. Making a game plan for the days that you could. So, you can only get out there to scout for 1 or 2 or maybe 3 days max in person before you get out there. So now you've completely organized a game plan for when you're out there, and you're not doing it the night before, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure out where you're going to go. You have that ready.
Right. Absolutely. This is a good chance to use far wide right here. So who owns that land from this little skinny amount of, like, who owns it? Let's click on it. U.S. Army engineer. So that's, it says Texas private land, but you just got to confirm that if that's Corps of Engineer, which it sounds like it is, U.S. Army of Engineer, you most likely can, launch there and be legal, because that's Corps of Engineer land, which owns like the whole lake and the bottom and all that. But this right here, it's clearly inside the lake. They're not even showing this is being owned. This is clearly inside the lake, and there isn't even a chance to click on. No one owns it. It's obviously owned. It's public land. So you could launch if there was a place to park and there wasn't actual signs from, let's say, the county or the state that said no parking or no launching from here. You can launch from this. You just got to find somewhere to park. It doesn't have no parking. You can launch from anywhere right there. So anyway, a lot of cool stuff just flipping back and forth between all the maps. You just need them all. You need, Google Earth, you need the Google Maps, you need the Far Wide app, you need it all the tools, bounce back and forth. But here's the thing though. Now let's just assume we've done this whole thing. You got pins everywhere. I always try to put a priority and make a mark on my pins, a color code or whatever, of the ones that are now that I've seen the whole thing, and like I said, you wait a week and you do it again, you wait another week, you do it again. And the reason you do that is because you don't know if an area is good. When you first start going around, like let's say you just start going around a shoreline, you're just going to start dropping pins like crazy. And you're like, oh, that's cool. That looks good. That looks good. But only when you've seen the entire lake do you know what really stood out as unique and different, what really looks good, and what just looks like okay that you thought was good when you're first dropping your pins. So that allows you to start culling those out, right? Getting rid of them.
Yep.
So you just keep whittling it down because you only have so much time to pre-fish. So I whittle it down to the most likely, and you're looking for things that stand out. So let's say this lake is clearly a lot of wood. There's not a lot of rock, and I promise you, if you find some rock on this lake, that's something that's going to stand out. It's going to be unique. You're going to find some fish on it. So bridges, there's not a lot of rock. So the fish are going to be attracted to something that's unique and different, and they go to rock there different times of year, for certain things. Obviously, this dam is going to have a lot of riprap on it. Something just unique and different, something man-made. The real juicy stuff, I like to pare only my pins down to the stuff that looks freaking awesome. So then what you were talking about earlier, Ken, comes into play. Then once you've done that is what you worry about first. You don't care about how far is it to get, like maybe there's not a launch. You don't even know where the launches are yet. You just want to know where the juiciest spots are, the places you feel are juiciest. And then you'll figure out how to get there later. That's where the line comes in. And that's when you'll actually figure out, is this spot 8 miles away? Is it 2 miles away? Is it a mile away? Sometimes if it's a juicy spot and it's a half mile away from a ramp, it goes out of my radar. It's gone. I don't even care about it anymore because I know it gets fished probably a lot. You know what I mean? I mean, I found a triangulated a spot on Possum Kingdom the other day, just looking at some YouTube videos. Looked juicy when I did my little pre-maps scout work study. Looked juicy. But then I pulled up some YouTube videos and I could tell they were on that spot. And yeah, they were catching fish. But it just doesn't appeal to me. I like fishing wild places that I know not a lot of people are going to be at. It was really close to a ramp. And I just like, how much does that place get beat up? Now, that's just my thinking. Somebody else might say, well, there were fish there. You saw them being caught. It's definitely a good, unique looking spot. And that ramp probably holds tournaments where fish are let go. Fish are can continue to just replenish that spot. But I don't care. I know it's going to be me and 6 other kayak anglers there. I don't want to be in it. So I'm done with that spot. So I start pulling away pins, and I find what looks best to me. I don't care how far it is. I'll get there if I need to figure it out. Sometimes if it's farther away, it becomes more of a priority for me. I'm like, ooh, I don't think people are going to want to, waste the fishing time, and do the work maybe needed to get to that spot. So now it actually bumps up on my priority to scout. And then I'm going to take all this away now so I can just talk to you guys and see the screen. Then let me remove this. So I think we're done with the screen sharing stuff. So then, I can actually start the pre-fishing process, which is my goal. And I like the fact that there was an off limits for this, bass thing. I think it's cool. I think we need off limits. I think it's going to benefit everybody. I've talked about it before. Those who can camp out for a week and pre-fish, it's going to benefit them. That sounds crazy, but they're trying to do this for a living, obviously, if they're spending that much time out there. Therefore, doing it for a living is not possible by our payout structures right now and our entry fees. So they need to be doing other stuff on the business side to create enough income for them, which means giving content back to sponsors, going on, podcasts, developing and working on other things that will actually help them do it for a living. So therefore, if you create an off limits period, and my theory's always been, Ken, you've heard it say, like, look, in the 2 weeks prior to the tournament, you can fish for like 5 days of pre-fishing, like limit it. So if you're a guy with 2 kids, a wife, full-time job, maybe you can only get off a weekend before to go pre-fish, and maybe you can fish just, maybe you can get off the day before and pre-fish the Friday before the tournament. So that's like 3 days you could fish. At least somebody else only has 5, right, total. So that's my plan, is to kind of like get there at least. I like at least 2.5 days, 2.5 days. Now, obviously, it's not possible. Sometimes you guys have jobs, and maybe you'd rather fish more tournaments and have 1 day pre-fishing, use your vacation time that way. But either way, this whole podcast, I hopefully helped you learn some things that'll narrow down the window or narrow down the process of which places you can go scout in that short window you have to get out there and do it. So 2.5 days to me, my half day when I first try to get there, at least if I got 3 days, even better. But because if I'm going to pay an entry fee like this and try to really go for AOIs and do this right, I want at least 2.5, 3 days. So half day, my full day, whatever, my first day is just driving to all the access points, because I do put pins on all the access points that I found with Far Wide, the ones they show you, the ramps, the canoe, kayak launches, or ones that are not as obvious, like the bridges that are legal. I got pins on all of them. And then I'm looking at the ramps that are closest to the juiciest, spots that I've found, and I just go scout all those first and look at the water clarity, check water temperatures. I bring a little thermometer down, check water temperatures, look at the vegetation, the current, if there's current. I just want to see it all. And then
that's the stuff that, looping it back into on that video when you were editing the pins themselves. When you do that, you can go back into those notes and put those notes on those pins for like when you review it later that night. You can say water temps at this water temp, stuff like that. If
I think you might even be able to take a photo. But sometimes I take photos, guys, because your iPhone will capture the GPS data. So if you take a photo, you can always go back and zoom in if you forget what that creek looked like, or this river, or this bridge with the riprap on the main lake here, or whatever. So that's kind of what I do. That's sort of a process. Day 2 of pre-fishing and day 3, it's just hitting as many of those places as I can. I get there. I just want to catch a few fish. I don't want to milk the place dry. Once I catch a few fish, I'm gone. And it's hard to do. It's so hard to leave because you just want to keep fishing. But A, I don't want to keep wearing the fish out of there. But B, I want to see more places, because then the third day I can go back to some of those places, or I can find new places. I don't always have to catch a huge fish there to know that it's, somewhere that I want to spend more time on,
That's what we mean by when I say like finding a population versus finding big fish.
Yeah.
If you find a population, you can get a limit out of it. It proves that fish live there, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And if there's fish there, generally there probably are some big ones somewhere in the area. Yeah. So you can figure that out more later with your final half of your pre-fishing day on Friday, or whether it's even on tournament day, because I just like to have all my fish fresh, especially if you are fishing smaller places, little areas, wild places, any smaller rivers or creeks. You do not want to get in there and wear those fish out at all, because those are the populations that will not survive in a tournament. Not that you can't catch fish there again the next day, but sometimes if the places are so small, you might be catching the same fish, which doesn't count. If you catch the identical fish 2 days in a row, or even on the same day, which happened to you on that last tournament, Ken, down in Florida, doesn't count. So I like to have just total rain of just all the fresh fish and just go pillage and plunder, man, on tournament day. Just find out really what my area has. But here's the thing. If I fish long enough in an area, I could have a backup area, which I did on Dardanelle. I had a couple places I went to. I got a limit at one area on Dardanelle, and I was like, I just kept fishing. I kept catching lots of fish, man. It wasn't even like hard. It was a spot. It was just lots of them. But, dude, they were all like 10, 11, 12, 15 at the most.
Yeah.
And once you've caught enough fish of that size, man, I mean, I guess could be some big ones there. I know there probably is. I did catch one good one in pre-fishing there. But you have to realize at one point, like, you're better off leaving and going to another area that you had picked out that's a backup area for that location that day. I knew I had a spot in mind. If it's not happening, or if I'm not catching a big one, I'm going to go try this area because I caught a couple fish here in pre-fishing, and I did catch a big one in the other place. So I went to that second spot, man, and started hammering them there. So, and then it's fun because you're fishing almost like all new water on tournament day. It's like, holy cow, I really haven't even explored a ton of this. And so anyway, plus you got to think about it. If somebody else happened to find that fragile, smaller area, whether it's a main lake, back little cove or nook or whatever, you know what I mean? Or a small river or creek, somebody else could have found it. And then what if they're not following a good strategy like you are by preserving your fish? What if they're hammering them, right? And then if you're there on tournament day, like, you really want to preserve your fish for a 2-day tournament. So keep that in mind. Anybody have any other questions or comments on that, Ken? Did I miss anything? And that's all I wanted to cover at this point.
That's a lot of information. It's a lot of information to divulge and to start introducing it into your own practices for scouting and stuff. I'm going to interject with a little update here. It looks like Ryan Lambert has put some more fish on the board for Watts Bar, and he is up to second place, just a quarter inch behind Ewing Minor. And it's
close.
Yeah, he's quarter inch behind. He put up 75 inches today, an inch more than he did yesterday. So, yeah, that's the biggest shakeup on the top 10 that I can.
Nick Matthews is still in sixth place, so still cashing a check. Strong.
Yeah.
Looks like. That's cool, man. Hopefully, well, good for Lambert. Maybe these later starts, man, might be might be his wheelhouse for sure. All right. Todd Patrick hopping on here. What's up, Todd?
Catching the end.
Good dude. So yeah, that's the end here. You can go back and watch it, Todd, the whole thing. We just did an awesome tournament scouting and prep. Hey, the other thing I will say we didn't touch on, and we'll have to do this on another episode, and maybe we've even done this before, but probably should do it again. River gauges, you know what I mean, and lake levels, going to the websites, finding generation schedules, finding the river gauge websites, and understanding how to use that. Look at the graph with the median statistic on there, the little median symbol on the graph, and knowing that a fishery, a river, a creek is generally fishable and clear enough to fish if it's somewhere around that median line.
And that'll make more sense with the visuals we can do now.
It will.
Screen sharing and stuff like that. So.
We'll do a data, USGS water gauge data, which, like I said, they were on the Far White app. You can turn them on, and you can click on them right there on the Far White app. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, guys, it's been a good show. We got to a lot of stuff here, and I'm excited to have this new platform that we're using. Ken, thanks for putting these cool graphics together. You've even got some other ones that are going to come into play on future episodes, and I'm excited, man, to see where we can take this.
Cool. Yeah, it's fun. I think it looks good, and it's exciting to produce these more frequently than we have been, and just making it bigger and better, and just getting the information out there and having a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And look forward to our next episode. I want to do Matthew Scotch and Guillermo on the next episode, because the sooner we get a preview out for Possum Kingdom Lake, the better. It's still cold in a lot of places, so people are still just at home, not really fishing anyway. So I want to get them on and see if we can't learn a few things about the lake. Matt's been great to the kayak fishing community about sharing a lot of information. He guides over there too. Yeah. He's not just going to gloss over. I'm telling you, you're going to actually learn a lot like you did today about that lake, and some tips are going to help you be a little bit more successful during the Bass Kayak Championship over there. So.
And hopefully tonight, I'm going to shoot for tonight on updating the fantasy standings.
Oh yeah,
we should get those results sometime tonight from AJ when they do their live show for the Watts Bar. So we should be able to get the points kicked off and get everything started, I'm hoping. 100% promise, but I'm going to try to get it done tonight.
Awesome, man. Hey, guys, we haven't said this in a while, but please go give us a review on iTunes, on YouTube. Go like this. It really helps us get it out there to more people, and, kind of help keep the lights on a little bit for us as the sponsors kick in, and really appreciate that we're doing this. They seem to be encouraging it, so we're kind of pushing further that direction, and I love talking kayak fishing and everything about it, as you guys can clearly tell, and I'm passionate about it. And so let's keep this thing going. Thanks for all the comments and the support on BTL and all the shows that I've been on lately. You guys actually go hit up those shows. Hit up Bass Talk Live. Hit Ike Live up and tell them, hey, have Drew on for a show. Let's dig into some real deeper topics with those guys and bring this even to more relevance, so we can continue to grow the sport, grow the purses, and get it on TV. Let's get an elite series of kayak fishing. I want to see that happen. 50 anglers, 40, 50 anglers, guys, full-time doing this, $1,500, $2,500 entry fees. Get the top 10 on a live stream TV show. It would be awesome, man.
Oh, yeah. Real quick, 5 seconds. Watch the BTL, because they talk about doing a competition with the top bass boaters and the top kayakers on the BSS thing. And I had an idea, and we'll let you mull this over. Maybe we could discuss it at a later time. Is what if you made those teams? You randomly pair up one of the top kayakers with the top bass guy. Kayaks 2 inches, bass guys do their thing, and then that's their team score versus the other teams. Maybe something a little different. But.
Yeah, that'd be really cool, man. Hopefully something like that will happen. But thanks again, guys. We'll catch you later on the next one. And again, we don't know when it'll be. We'll just go live on Instagram and kind of give y'all a heads up, go live on Facebook, do some stories. And then maybe one day we will eventually have a regular scheduled day, but I don't know if that's when that'll happen. So until then,
We're never regularly
stay
scheduled,
tuned, but it
ever.
doesn't. Yeah, that's probably not. Well, it's like Let's Talk Fish with Brian Thrift and Matt Airy. Let's Talk Fish does have a regular night, Tuesdays, but they don't do it every Tuesday. That's for sure. Cause they've got Elite Series and MLF schedules, and it's just, it's crazy. So, but it works because the live viewers aren't the key to what we do. I mean, it's nice to have these guys on. It's nice to have guys like Jake right now making the comments saying great episode, and Doug King saying he enjoyed it and that Prep 101, great information. That's cool. The questions you guys asked tonight tonight, whatever it is, was great. And it keeps us sort of on point. But the key for us is just that we get the content out afterwards on YouTube and on iTunes and just keep it coming.
Yep.
And so, all right, guys, let's watch it. I'm going to keep refreshing this screen right here. I want to see Nick Matthews hopefully catching some fish, moving up in those standings. So good luck. You got 45 minutes left, Hobie BOS anglers, and then another hour after that to get in your photos. Good luck to all those guys. Thank you to all the tours out there for doing what you do and all the hard work. Nobody knows more than I do, trust me, after running river bassin for 10 years, how hard you guys work. So I will end on a huge thanks to them, even though we sometimes talk about and debate some of the decisions that are made. But overall, we are super fortunate and blessed to have the kayak fishing community that we have. So thanks a lot, guys. We'll catch you next time.